Hi guys, it's Martin here from Electronics. In today's video I'm going to show you how to change a bearing in different types of alternators. Now the bearing we are going to be changing is going to be the front bracket one, the drive-in bearing, which I actually mentioned in a few of my other videos that it's quite difficult to do it, so we need a separate video for it. So there it is. Now guys, let's start off with quick description of what we are going to be doing. Now this is the front bracket of the Opel Saab alternator made by Denso. As you see, the pulley is removed, the back cover is removed. Now this type of the alternator is one of them where the stator, the actual coil, stays in the front cover. So you have to disconnect the rectifier from it to take it apart, and basically that's what you're going to end up with. And you want to remove the rotor spinning part to change the bearing in front. This is one of the two types, and other popular ones are these ones. These ones are in Bosch and Magneti Marelli, different types of alternators. In this case, the actual stator comes out with the back part, and you're left only with the front aluminium casing and the bearing in front. Now, if you have a close look here, you'll see that the bearing is held by them Phillips screws, which you can actually see from here, where in the other type you can't see them. They are put in from the inside out rather than from the outside in. That's the way how it's done in these types, and you'll find out in a minute why this is important. Now guys, we have our press here. This is the ram, and we're going to use the simplest method of doing it if you have press like that, which is basically push the rotor out of the front cover. Now the alternator, I have it here. It's this type. It's the Denso Valeos, are the same idea, where you have the stator stuck in front cover. Now a very important thing pressing them out is not to support them on the stator, because that's going to damage it. You want to support the alternator on here on the outer shell of the thing. Now I simply show you how it's done. Put that down, lift the ram up, and as far as I'm concerned, these ones are coming out quite easily. Denso's come out quite easily. Magneti Marelli rotor comes out quite easily. There's a lot of them that you're nearly sure that will come out easily. Mitsubishi and Hitachi are easy to take out as well. Now, this is it. Our rotor is out. See the back bearing here. This is the front where the pulley goes. And this is our shell. And what you see inside, you see a retaining plate there, held by 3 screws. And simply what you do, you just take 3 screws out, knock out the bearing, knock in the new one, put in the plate, and job done. Now I'm not going to show you how to change the bearing, but just a very important note. See the center piece of the bearing. When you're tapping a new bearing in front, never tap the center. Always tap the outer shell of the bearing, because if you tap the center, you very easily damage the bearing. Now guys, this was the simple one, and as I said, Mitsubishi, Hitachi, Denso, Magneti Marelli, all of them are very simple. But the difficult ones, the ones that give the most trouble trying to take the armature from the front, are the most popular ones, which is Bosch and Valeo. There's always problems with them. Now, I have my Bosch one here. Now I can just try to push it down. Now it might go, but I want to show you guys alternative method of doing it. There's 2 alternative methods now. The best one I find is to use a body of the starter. You see, this is a body of the old starter. It's the old those coils inside them, and the best way of doing it is to simply shove the front part with the rotor inside. And what you do then is you just wall up the bottom of the concrete floor. Just wall up it down like that. Just hold the top with your hand and wall up it down off the concrete floor. And in a situation like that, the actual shock will make the rotor come out. Now again, you need appropriate sizes of the starter bodies to do that. So I'm not going to show it to you guys, and it's simple anyway. You just basically shove it down and wall up the lot of the floor. But many of you wouldn't have the appropriate size of the tube to do it. So I'm going to show you other method which always works. There's a lot of work to it, but this is a method that will always work, and it's safe enough. And it's safe because if this rotor is kind of seized on the bearing and you're trying to push it down with the press, you might basically smash the bracket, which we don't want to do that now. That's regarding Bosch. In valeo, the situation is different. If the bearing is kind of seized onto the shaft and you try to push it down, what will happen is the bearing will actually rip the retaining plate, but it will shove out safely because the retaining plate is very thin. It's very thin steel. It'll rip it up and it'll shove it down. And at the end of the day, I'm going to show you to do that as well. Now guys, this is our Bosch. As I said, the screws are holding the bearing from front. So to remove the lot without risking of smashing the front bracket is to simply take all them 4 Phillipses holding the bearing inside. Just take them off. Now guys, very important thing doing any job like that is that you never want to hit the top of the shaft with the hammer. You never hit that with the hammer. You keep that protected because this is very soft steel and the thread can get damaged very easily. Now guys, we have our 4 screws removed. Now this is going to come out very easy. I'm just going to take it to the press now, and this will basically slide out with the bearing from the front bracket. Now guys, this is our front bracket. As you see, the retaining plate is removed and all that. There's nothing here because it's on the actual rotor now. See, this is our retaining shim, this is our bearing, and here this is the retaining plate that normally would be on the front bracket here. Now the question is, how are we going to remove the retaining shim and the bearing? Well, first thing to do is to smash the bearing. What we'll do, we'll put our bearing in the vise, the jaws device, tighten slightly, and the most important part, cover with a cloth because there could be bits flying. So we just cover it well with the cloth and we just tighten the vise. And that's it. That's the old bearing smashed in bits. See? Remove the remaining bolts and all that. Now this is see the little rubbers, they are the covers of the bearing. Now what we have to do now is to remove the shim, which is quite simple as well, if you know how to do it. To do that you'll need 2 large screwdrivers. Now the shim is here. I mounted it in a way so the 2 screwdrivers can go in and still have a bit of a force to pull it up. Now we're going to get socket and we are going to tap the shim in. You might wonder why. Because we want to shock it, because this shim is often enough rusted into the shaft. So we just give the shim a tap and that'll shock the shim, so now it'll come out when we put our 2 screwdrivers to it. It'll be easy to remove it. And the shim like that, it's only used in Bosches. These shims are very tight in Bosches now. All the older alternators, retaining shims more than likely just shove out. Now we have our 2 screwdrivers and we can remove the shim now. Now get our screwdrivers. And shim actually comes off quite easily, but the main important thing is to always shock it. Now sometimes you might want to put a drop of oil on the actual shaft, which will make it easier for the shim to slide out, but the most important thing is to give it a good hit in with the socket. That will shock it so it will come off easily. Now shim is removed. What we have left? We have left the retaining plate of the bearing, which is, and the inner casing of the actual bearing here. This is it. Now this casing is usually rusted badly into the shaft. That's why we always take them bearings out that way rather than pushing them on the press, because that's why they break. That's why the casing can break of the alternator. So we just, now what we do with this, the only method I found is, the best method is get yourself a grinder and grind down one edge until you see the shaft, because then this will break and it will come off easily. Now I'm going to do that. I'm not going to show you guys while I'm doing it, because before sparks flying and all, but basically what I'll do is just get the grinder and just gradually keep grinding this piece until it kind of levels down with the shaft. Now make sure you don't damage the thread while you're doing it, but I'm going to do that, and I'll just show you the rotor with this done. Now guys, this is it done. As you can see, this round piece, the inner shell of the bearing, is flat with the shaft. So what we do now, we just fit the device, and what you want to do is get yourself a puncher or anything really, and give one side of it, say this side, a tap. See how it's moving? It starts to go around because the middle broke and this is actually loose now. And just give it a little tap, and as soon as we have it tapped, nearly it'll come off with your fingers. That's it. That's the actual piece. Grind it down and comes off very easily. Now, as you guys see, there's a little metal mark here, but that's no harm at all. This does nothing to it, absolutely nothing. Now, what we're going to be doing now is remove the bearing retainer, which was stuck behind it, and we want to give the shaft a little rub. Don't rub it with a coarse sandpaper or anything like that. Just get yourself maybe like something like a wire brush or something like that, and make sure the rust is gone. Now what we do now is basically we get our bearing, we press our bearing in. We can use large socket or something like that to tap it down. And as I said, the most important thing about the bearings is not to tap the inner shell. Always tap the outer shell. So tap your bearing in. You might put a drop of oil on the inside there where the bearing sits down. It'll make it easier to go down. And when you have the bearing in place, now guys, we tap down our bearing. We have it in place here. Now the retaining plate goes on top of it, like that. Just line it with the openings on the other side, and we use our Phillips screws to tighten the bearing retainer. Now we have our retainer tightened. Say all the bolts are in it, and now we are going to fit our rotor back into the cover. Now, why did I say to clean that shaft? It's actually very important, because if you don't clean it, it'll be very difficult to shove the rotor down into the cover. Now we put a drop of oil on it as well, on the shaft, and if we do everything properly, if we clean the shaft properly, oil it properly, basically the rotor should fall down into place, which it did in this case, and as you see, it fits perfect. If you clean it well, that's the way to go. Otherwise you'll have to hammer it down and you just destroy the slip ring, destroy the rear bearing. So that's the way you want to do it. You want to clean it, oil it, and let it fall down. And once we have this done, we can assemble our alternator. Don't be trying to tap in the retaining plate now, because the rotor will simply shove out. It will simply fall out to it as you're trying to tap the retaining washer. So just assemble the lot, tap this in, and it goes the narrow side in. Now this is a Bosch version. Now what's the situation with the valeo, which gave a lot of trouble as well? The situation with valeo is kind of the same. The only difference is that you can't remove the bolts holding the bearing retaining plate, because they are inside out. So what you do is but you need a press for a situation like that. You need a press. You just force the rotor out, and what will happen? It will rip the retaining plate, which we don't need it anyway, but it won't damage anything, because the retaining plates and valeos are extremely soft. This will just basically fall out. When you do this, you basically follow the same steps as we did now with Bosch. You just you smash the bearing, cut it off, clean everything, and because you have the retaining plate damage, it's just a simple M5 Phillips screw like that, short one, and large washer. Now what you want to do as well with the washer, you have to cut the washer just like that, as you see, as I drew there. So you're going to use this part is going to be the part you're going to be using, and when you're going to fit the new bearing, you're just going to tighten the washer down with your screw, and this is going to hold the bearing back. You need 4 washers and 4 screws. That's what will hold it back, and that's the way how it's done in valeos, unless you have the retaining plate, which I doubt anyone would have, because I don't even have them, and that's the way how it's done basically. So you just need 4 washers like that. You just need to cut the tops of them neatly and fit it so it'll hold the bearing back, and that's all that's to it. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and it helped you. Now, as I said, this job isn't the easiest one. Now, some of them are easier to do than the other ones. Some of them are more difficult. They are seized more, but generally it is doable. You don't need much tools, just simple tools to strip the alternator and maybe the grinder to cut the bearing off and a vise to smash it. And that's really it. But it is the job that requires patience, and you have to be very careful doing it, not to smash anything, not to damage a thread, or not to break off the slip rings. I hope guys that video will help you and you'll go and change the bearing. Now the very important thing to remember after you change the bearings in every alternator you do, doesn't matter what alternator it is, to tap the alternator after you have the bearings changed. And the best spot to tap it is just to put the socket in where the nut holding the pulley is, and just give it a tap. Now, reason for that is very simple, because if you don't do it, the bearings are going to be tight in the alternator and they can get damaged quicker. Basically, giving a tap, it will make them last longer, and this is a very important thing, and I advise you to do that. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and please stay tuned for more. Cheers.